Hello, my name is James Chan. I'm your host in this episode of Money Matters TV. I have been a consultant. I have to say this is the word that is most comfortable with me instead of calling myself the CEO, the president. I am the consultant, and I founded a consultancy by the name of Asia Marketing and Management, and I advise companies in doing business in China and Asia. Now, before I do anything, I'd like to introduce my co-host and very long-time friend, commercial banker Paul Mitchell.
James,
Paul,
a pleasure. Great to see you again.
Good to see you again. It's snowing outside, you know this. You know. I hope that you didn't.
Well, it's the season. It is the season, you know.
Yeah, right. You look marvelous. Now, you know that we have a very clear-cut and extremely interesting theme today. We have our guest later in a few minutes,
Right.
but you and I have been talking about the new American workplace, and somehow I think that a more exciting way of phrasing it is we are running into a new kind of professional midlife crisis when it comes to a time if people are 50 years or older, the 50 plus people. And I call this midlife crisis because it seems to me that by the time people turn a little less young, they will run into a situation where the company will tell them, well, you know, take a hike.
Sure.
Do you agree? Or
I agree.
Am I cooking this up?
No, and as people can see from the color of our hair, we've been around for quite a while. So whether or not we personally have gone through it, and you have not really because you're a self-employed consultant,
that is
you're your own boss, that type of thing, which is terrific. But we know lots of people our age or even a little younger that have gone through it, and for many of them, it's absolutely devastating because it's totally blindsides them.
Did it happen to you? I mean, you were a corporate executive.
Yes, yeah.
You were a banker for different banks. So you actually, unlike me, I could be a bad soldier, but you were a good soldier for many years.
And many good bankers are good soldiers, and many good soldiers that are bankers travel around from bank to bank and whatever.
Right.
It's just the way it's been in the last, I guess, 20 years or so.
So you did live through the experience yourself.
Oh, I've seen so many fine bankers. I mean, I look at myself and say, gee, you know, I've bounced around a little bit. Is it me? And I look around, people I've worked with 30 years ago, it's not me at all.
You even went to a fancy high school. You know, you had the right. You are male. You're white, and you're part of the elite. Does it protect you from this midlife crisis?
Absolutely not. I've become very normal.
Yeah, very normal. That's correct. So we're not trying to be negative. We just want people to understand and to realize, first of all, that this happens to just about everybody.
Sure, exactly.
So what are we going to do? Can you name one?
Well, look at the focus on the positive. That's number one.
Right.
I mean, if you're worried about, gee, are you going to be laid off in 3 years or 8 years or 10 years, and always think about that when you're driving home or whatever, you know, it's going to eat you away. Okay.
How about saving up a lot of money?
Well, that's a nice, easy way of doing it, but that's, you know,
not enough, right?
And even then, people generally they want to get a real satisfaction of working, contribute to society, and that type of thing.
Agree with you.
So one of the things is, as you do get older, you certainly get more experience. Okay, that experience is valuable to somebody somewhere. For example, I know a bunch of people from one of our former networking group. GP-SEG, who's now called Beacon and all, that has started consulting businesses.
Right.
Now, from my perspective, I think the most successful consulting business I've seen, at least from that networking of people, are they got to know others with other expertise, and they form kind of I'll call a loose-knit consultancy with different kinds of expertise. Somebody may be very good at marketing, somebody's good at finance, somebody's good at a technical aspect, IT, maybe somebody's good at HR. So they could visit a company or get to know somebody that has a company and say, you know, our outfit can support and provide these expertise services, not just one guy, James Chan, who's going around saying, okay, I'm the Chinese expert, which you are. Okay, but you've been doing that for a long time, so it's worked well.
Right.
I'm talking about in today's market, for me to go out and say, okay, I'm a banker, you know, hire me to be your banker.
Or a chemist.
One guy.
A chemist. I know there are hundreds and thousands of chemists who got laid off.
What if I get run over and your company relying upon me? That's no good, you know. So you want, you know. So I think this loose knit thing, and here's another bit of perspective too. That one's from my experience. There's no need to form a corporation or a formal partnership and say, okay, we are now partners, we're going to share this and share that and that type of thing, because sometimes things don't work out. And then murder to unwind. If it's working, if you trust each other and share things, terrific, it works. And if something happens and it doesn't work, you walk away and say, see you around.
I have another very specific question. For people who are excellent employees and they're helping their companies make a lot of money or do very good things, but then again, maybe they never feel that they have to truly think about what they really love to do, in the sense that they may not know in case the company were to lay off everybody and suddenly they can't afford to spend 16 months to look for another job. What could they do? They might suddenly forget what they want to do in life. In other words, should we all prepare to kind of run into an aha moment, like suddenly realizing, much like I realized what I wanted to do when I was in the St. Peter and Paul Cathedral, when I was down in my luck and I was on my knees and I was praying, and that was when I discovered that I wanted to be what I am today.
Amen.
But in other words, is it important for people early on to begin to meet the aha moment? You can make your aha moment on what you love to do.
I think you should think about it. You should also talk with other people that you respect about that, okay?
Right.
Because that conversation with yourself and with others gives you a much better perspective. In terms of starting a business, I mean, a while ago I knew a fellow, a family friend that he was laid off. His company was sold and all the owners made millions of dollars and that type of thing. And he was instrumental in the company, in the marketing area and all. Right. And he said, Paul, I'm thinking of starting my own company. And I said, it's a great idea. And I've been financing early stage companies. The key thing is that you have people that would be your customers that today could say, yes, you go in business for yourself, I will be your customer. I'm not going to put it in writing.
Right.
But you can rely upon, I'll be your customer because I love you and trust you so much in what you do. Right. If you've got to start by going out and knocking on doors and saying, I'm a great guy, look at me, and I give you references, nobody knows you yet, it's not going to happen. Your sales will take so long to develop. Right. So in terms of preparing
very
yourself,
long.
So if you're an expert in a certain field at your company, get to know more about what your company does.
Correct.
Who they do it with. You're not going to, you're not poaching them. Just learning more about the company and who's in the industry, who the other players are.
Paul, I absolutely agree with you on that. In fact, a short statement from me. Sometimes for me to get a client, I've been doing this for 35 years. It could take 5 years, 10 years to get a good client. Sure. It's just as long as that. Now, by the way, let's switch gears a little bit. Because we do have a person in Philadelphia by the name of Lisa Martin.
Yes.
And she has a question for you, the commercial banker.
Okay.
And her question is, what are the advantages of a payday loan?
Right. Okay.
Your bailiwick.
Well, as I thought about that question, I said to myself, well, the reason the payday loan industry has existed is because there are people that want it to exist. That get a benefit from it. They get loans. Okay. Now, a payday loan, in very simplistic terms, is based upon your paycheck. So you have to be employed. And basically, if you're going to get paid $300 from your employer in 2 weeks, a payday lender will give you maybe 70% of that as a payday loan, and you sign over your paycheck effectively. Okay. So when the payday comes and the check is issued, the payday lender gets the money. Okay? So that's how it works.
Right.
So it's not a very formalized banking
But
type
what are
of
the
thing.
advantages? Name 1, 2
The
key advantages.
You get money when you need it right now. That's the only advantage. But it's a very big one, and that's what made the business so big.
But you have a check already. You have a paycheck already.
Well, it's coming in 2 weeks.
Oh, see, I never.
That's
sorry,
the whole idea.
I've never had a.
You get the check.
I've never
you get the
done
money
that
today.
before.
It's like any loan is getting money today that you
you
get
mean
eventually.
advance? In other words, advance. You get money in advance before you get your paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, you get a mortgage to buy your house. You get $60,000 to buy your house today, which you're going to pay back over the next 30 years.
So only one advantage. Years. I'm repeating myself. Only one, Paul. Really, only one?
Okay, it's easy to get.
Oh,
that's all you need is a paycheck.
All right.
Okay, that can be confirmed.
Right. Okay.
All right. There's no long application form. If you're any kind of color or ethnic background or whatever, nobody cares. The only thing is that you've got a job that's going to get a paycheck. Yeah. You don't have to have worked there for 17 years.
Right.
Or anything like that. No credit history is involved.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So
very
it's
good.
easy. and it's immediate.
Very good. Thank you so
Of course,
much.
it's extremely expensive. The annual percentage rate starts at around 400%
Oh my
and goes
God.
up from there.
Oh my. Okay. All right.
And people, a lot of the lenders, payday lenders, have gone to jail because it's called predatory lending. More on the internet. Check it out.
So, caution. Thank you, Lisa. Now, for our viewers, we would like to get questions from you. And this is how you send questions to Money Matters TV.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says Send Us Your Questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, M-O-N-E-Y, -matters, M-A-T-T-E-R-S, TV.com.
Welcome back to Money Matters TV. I'm James Chan of Asia Marketing and Management. It is my pleasure, real pleasure, to introduce my personal friend whom I have known for more than 20 years. His name is Jim Shulman. He is the founder and, of course, CEO and owner of his own business, Elsinore Business Associates. Jim, welcome
James,
to
it's
Money
a pleasure.
Matters
Thank you
TV.
so much.
Can you believe 21 years ago?
I cannot
we
believe
would
it.
Not have,
There's
I
only-
would not have imagined talking to you on TV.
You haven't changed a whit. It's me that became
thank
older.
God. Oh, no. We compete on how to age faster. But in any case, what I really want the audience to know is that Jim Shulman, I can attest, is a born entrepreneur. I use the word entrepreneur and entrepreneurship in the absolute positive, favorable sense. Not many people really have the courage and the creativity, plus really the means and willpower and the persistence
Thank you.
of becoming a successful entrepreneur and business founder. So Jim, first of all, let me ask him the first question, Paul, and you can add. What is the profile? See, I said earlier, you are a born entrepreneur. In the good sense, entrepreneur, nothing cynical.
Right.
Really. But what's the profile? Being one yourself, you should know the kind of animal that you are. You later or now coach, because one of your main thing in your business is to coach, particularly younger entrepreneurs or startup
Correct.
people. What's the profile?
Two parts of the profile, James. The first is an entrepreneur is somebody who is completely driven. They are driven to succeed. They have a strange set of devils making them do what they do.
Driven or obsessed?
Both.
Okay.
I look at the world has two groups of people, W-2s and 1099s.
Okay.
Somebody who
That's
gets a
right.
check every 2 weeks and
right.
somebody who lives on what they create.
Right.
And those two groups will never understand each other,
I'm a
which is
1099
fine.
person.
Exactly. You will never understand somebody who gets a check every 2 weeks,
Right.
and people who look at us think we're insane, and they're right.
Okay.
And the second part of an entrepreneur is somebody who does not have any other option in life. They can't
Really?
not
That
be an
bad?
entrepreneur, meaning, yes, they can be hired by a company. They're not going to like it. The company isn't going to like it. They're not going to last very long. To use that old
I've been
phrase,
there. I've been there.
to use the old phrase, does not play well with others.
Right.
That's what happens when you have an entrepreneur within a company. And they might be very successful, but they're not going to stay there very long, because the kind of thinking that is required for you to be a good player within an organization is not how an entrepreneur is.
I would like to make one comment, though. In order
Yeah,
to become a
Paul.
good entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you do need experience, with rare exception.
Well, and Paul, I will differ with you on that.
Okay.
I work with a group, or I have a group that meets of entrepreneurs under the age of 30. I can guarantee you that there is very, very little experience in that group. Certainly not as for people who would have been in those respective professions, say 20 or 30 years. What there is the ability to learn fast, to fail, and to get back up on their feet. And that is the skill set that I see that's crucial for being a great entrepreneur. And among these people in this group, who are all under the age of 30, Many of them have had 2, 3 different enterprises, and they've used what they've learned from their previous experiences in their next endeavor.
Right. Now, Jim, I remember when I wrote the book Spare Room Tycoon on how to really start, run, and sustain a successful business on one's own. You actually found my book faster than I could announce it. What made you like that book so much? I must have said something right, that.
I'll tell you what made it so great, James, is that I've seen many, many business books. And they usually have a number in the title, the 5 key ways that you can make more money for me by buying my book, usually.
7 Habits.
7 Habits, the 14 whatever, somebody counts.
Right.
You had exclusively focused this book with interviews of real people in real situations.
40 of them.
And that's what made this book so special. It was not a business school description of principles. It was, these are individuals' life experiences. And not only that, but here's how you can get in touch with this person. So in essence, you were years before social media with direct contact of individuals with experiences. You used the media that was available at the time of this book to connect people with their own experiences who wanted to share it with others.
Thank you.
And that made it very special.
Thank you. But of course, I was also driven to make sure that I won't fail myself.
Right.
It was pretty scary, Jim.
Absolutely.
It has always been scary. Now, not so much as 35 years ago.
Right.
But in any case, Paul, before I'm sure that you have other questions for Jim,
Sure.
but I have one equally important question.
Yes.
What are your favorite entrepreneurs? And why are they your favorite?
My favorite entrepreneurs are people who have either failed or had near bankruptcies at least twice.
Pretty scary.
Because any idiot can have a success, but it takes somebody amazing who can get up after belly flopping.
That's true.
And the 2 multimillionaires I've been privileged to know in my business career, both either went bankrupt or went nearly bankrupt at least twice, one fellow 3 times. And they came back and they might have restarted their business in the same field. They might have picked an ancillary field. But if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to be successful, you're going to have to know how to manage a tightrope. And man, you can go from the heights into the pit like that. And certainly now in the era of social media, you could be a major corporation. You could be Starbucks doing extremely well, and it takes 1 employee and 1 poor judgment call, and all of a sudden your entire business and reputation could be on the line. An entrepreneur can live with that.
Don't you think that entrepreneurs can be very lonely because some of the things that you have to deal with, you can't tell too many people? Some of them are very secret stuff.
You've given the secret of my business away.
Right.
I coach entrepreneurs exclusively because I understand lonely. And I am the person in their life who gets it in a way that nobody else can. And I know this is lonely. I live this life, and people are, it takes one to know one. And you're exactly right. When you sit in your office and you're creating business or looking at a disaster, usually if not of your own making, it could be the field. How do I deal with this? And you feel that you're alone.
And not only that, you have to have that art to be able to connect. I don't care whether it's emotional, mental, cerebral, doesn't matter.
Right.
Connect with a specific person who completely feels he or she can open up to you, which itself is a plunge into the unknown.
Absolutely.
It can be very scary. You forget the need to listen to you. They have to be able to open up to you first, which is pretty scary on the part of a client.
I look at it this way too. As business people, as people in general, we go outside with a suit of armor, mental armor around ourselves. Right. Who am I? What do I represent? How do people feel about me? And it takes a lot for you to pull off the armored mask and talk to somebody. But eventually that mask has to come off. Eventually you have to have an outlet from how you present yourself versus what's really going on. And there's always going to be that dichotomy within us.
I don't want to bogart.
Oh, my question about the mysterious Jim is,
Shulman.
What's Elsinore mean? Sounds like King Arthur's court or something.
It is the name of the castle in Hamlet, and that's where all the action in the play happened. And I just picked a name because I felt like picking a name as opposed to Me Associates or some vague business wonderful improvement organization or whatever. And it's a conversation starter because most people say, what is Elsinore or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we get to begin talking, and then that conversation very often leads to further business conversations.
I thought for a split second that Elsinore might mean to be or not to be, that kind of thing. What should I do?
Well, let's put it this way. Sometimes I've used that speech when things got pretty
to be or
desperate.
not to be.
Yeah.
You are very creative. I'm not saying this to flatter you because I know you.
The flattery is very much
I know
welcome.
you like it, but I'm not flattering you. But how the hell did you get some very young people to have some kind of a sit-down lunch? People who don't believe in rules, people who feel
Or
that
people
they can
wear
recreate their
People wear
work.
suits.
Or they don't wear suits.
I only
Do you
wore one
get
for
them
you.
interested
But I'm
in
not wearing
wanting you
underwear,
as a
James.
coach?
I have limits.
Fine. Yes, I know your clean underwear thing. But
One hopes.
how can you be so creative and filled with a chutzpah to get these, in my mind, kids, to come and sit with you and open up to you and not only that, you once told me that you are very blunt and almost nakedly honest with them. I want you because you are young. I don't want 50-year-old, 60-year-old, 70-year-old people as my client. Am I right?
Well, the answer is yes, and when I talk about it, there are generational differences. And one of the key points when you're talking to people who are smart and successful in their 20s is they have absolutely no interest in listening to BS. And their BS detector is set to 10 on the scale. And on top of that, unlike my generation that would bite our tongue and put up with it, they'll walk out of the room. So what I found is that I wanted to work with more people in that age cohort for two main reasons. Number one is, in 10 years, all of my colleagues will be dead, retired, or possibly both. And I want to keep working. I love what I'm doing. And the biggest challenge or mistake that I see consultants make is that they don't build up a clientele beyond their immediate age cohort. And when that happens, they wake up one day. We knew somebody in the consultants network who did that. Woke up one day and all of his contacts had gone to the great retirement home in the sky.
Right.
And either you are constantly looking for people who will be your farm team, which is something that I recommend to my clients. The second is this. I find that when people get to I'll say the last decade of a traditional career, that they begin shutting down for the duration, and you start hearing things like, well, maybe I can make it another 5 more years before I won't have to learn X.
Right.
Or I can make some minor adjustments to this thing and I can ride this out. And then that becomes, well, I don't understand these people today and why they would do this and so on and so forth. I didn't want to hear any of that. So what I said is that I want to be surrounded with people who are at the start of their careers and are not jaded, where everything is potential, everything is interesting, anything is let's try this or do this now. And they're not handicapped by experience. And I look at experience as much of a handicap as it is a benefit.
Well, as a banker, I have to ask you the question of, so what's the money model? If there's an inexperienced new startup young entrepreneur doesn't have $1,500,
Legitimate
pay
question.
You
Very
pay you
legitimate
$100.
question.
How does
Very
that work?
financial.
How do I do it?
very
How does the money
based
model work?
You mean for me? How do I make
Yeah.
money?
Right.
Oh, it's pretty simple. Part of my practice is working with people in that age cohort, and I take a percentage of gross sales. And we have a contract based upon that, and the contract is not eternal. It's based on a limited period of time, and I will only work with somebody who I see is motivated and where I believe they have the potential of driving
That
sales.
means you pick your millennial young clients.
I pick somebody who's driven, and somebody who's driven wants to make money. And the other thing too is somebody who's driven will probably listen to advice that will help them make more money.
But
so I get a much better
I
client.
have to stop you. But these people, if they are driven, they also have big egos. Ego in a positive, good way. I mean, in other words, they have to think they're very smart, if not also very intelligent. Why should they want to talk to Jim Shulman?
You know what the answer is? Jim Shulman doesn't sell them. Jim Shulman says, I have an opportunity to get together. I have a monthly lunch, which I'm going to have next week.
I see.
There are no rules.
I see.
We don't have an official agenda. Lord knows they wouldn't pay attention to it. The only requirements are you have to own your own enterprise. You have to feed yourself from your enterprise, and 30 and under. Oh, yeah, and you have to pay for your own food. And now I take Venmo because most people in that cohort don't have cash, so that's life. But there's no rules, there are no dues, there's no minimum number of everything. If you show up late, I don't care. You leave early, that's fine. There are no presentations, there's no official handshake.
No PowerPoints?
No
PowerPoint?
Everything,
No 30-page
everything
PowerPoints.
that we ever saw in our professional groups, James,
Yeah.
they won't put up with, so I don't have it. And the only thing is,
Yeah.
and I found a restaurant
Yeah.
in Chinatown that's
Yeah.
cheap, so nobody can complain about, you can get out for under $15.
And not only that, Jim, are you afraid that there are copycats who have, after having listened to what you have
Let
talked
'em.
about,
Let
will
'em.
want to replace you, duplicate you,
God
turn
bless
into
them.
use.
Let them do it.
Okay,
Okay.
right, yeah.
And here's what I also found in
Yeah.
this little group: there are no protected categories. This
Mm-hmm.
generation doesn't care about it. Frankly, most of the people I encounter in their 20s, the person at the table who is their competitor on paper is their collaborator on the next project.
That is correct.
And the people in this regular lunch are already working with one another. Almost everybody at this lunch has multiple employees, James. And the youngest is a fellow who I went to his 22nd birthday party a few weeks ago.
I think you are both very clever and very intelligent in coming up with this millennial strategy, coaching the millennial.
Well, I
think
don't
you
even
are.
call it just coaching.
No, coaching?
I just take a look and I say, guess what? I am not your age cohort. Here are
Yeah.
two selfish reasons why I do it. Enjoy the lunch. And for somebody in our age cohort, I'll use the exception. One of the most successful television programs when I was a kid was a variety program called The Ed Sullivan Show. And Ed
Yep.
Sullivan was a master at just being able to say, here is a talented person, and point to this person and shut up.
He didn't have much of a personality.
He didn't
no.
have to do it. In other words, every other host in that era
see.
had to show what their personality was like.
right, yeah.
Sullivan was like an anti-host. And as a result, because it was focused on what the people on his show did and what they were interested in doing, that it was a huge
Did
success.
he bring on the Beatles?
Yes, he did.
Oh, so well, yeah, I'm.
And he recognized the Beatles, but the point is that he had an open mind to any kind of talent,
Very
any.
good, very
And it was from A to Z, from rock and roll to baton twirlers.
We are coming to the end of this session, and I want to give Jim you the opportunity to say in a simple, short sentence why people want you. Look at the camera.
People want me when they are successful, when they are lonely, when they feel that they want to achieve a lot more, when they understand what a coach does, when they've had some other coaching, and they're comfortable being able to share that. That is a great person for me to work with in a very successfel relationship.
And how do they find you on the internet?
What they do is they can Google Jim Shulman, and they'll find me. They can go to elsinoreba.com.
How do you spell Shulman?
That's a good point. Thank you. We're the branch that had the C section. We got rid of the C. So I am, there's the SCs and SHs,
Right.
but that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's Jim Shulman.
Thank you. And our next guest will be Brian Tierney. He's the founding partner of Streamline Payroll. We will see you again. Thank you.